This is the Stockwell Eldridge Show, giving you the real-time information you need to make educated decisions about buying and selling in the world-renowned Twin Cities. Now your hosts and real estate experts, Jason Stockwell and Don Eldridge.
Good morning, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Welcome to the Stockwell Eldridge Show. Every Sunday, 10 a.m. here on AM 1280 The Patriot. I'm Jason Stockwell with RE/MAX Results. And Don Eldridge, my colleague and counterpart, is out today. She's in Florida with Diane Eldridge, her mother, and Tully, her father, down there in Florida for a family visit of family friends down there. So we're missing her today. However, it's unfortunate because we have one of the best guests, I think, on the show today, and you're going to learn, hopefully, a lot of information. And we have a true expert and someone who is studying and looking at the Minneapolis Twin Cities market for real estate all the time. So I saw, and this guest is awesome. I'm happy to have him on, David Arbit. He's with the Minneapolis Association of Realtors. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
So I saw David, real quick, we'll get into the little history here. I've probably seen your name a number of times coming through on the emails, haven't paid attention. Then I go to a Richfield education class for realtors. And every year Richfield is nice enough to put on a class just for realtors to do continuing education and learn about what's happening in Richfield. And other cities do it as well. Brooklyn Park, I believe, does Hopkins and all kinds of other cities. So David was speaking at the Richfield one, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, the energy, the passion, and just the numbers. Some of the numbers were staggering when we were there of what's happening with the Twin Cities market. And you hear about it from realtors all the time, I'm sure. You see it on Facebook. This house sold in 2 days, or this house sold in multiple offers, and all that. So we're going to learn more about what's happened in the marketplace, what historically has happened, what's happening, and when we will have a full recovery, because pre-show, David and I were talking, and according to some economists, we're not there yet. We haven't reached a full recovery yet. So David Arbit, welcome. If you want to share a little bit, your passion and energy, I thought, man, this guy should sell real estate. That's what I was thinking. So I'm curious what got you started, what got you involved, and what got you in with the Minneapolis Association of Realtors.
Sure. So my background, I don't know how far back I should go. It was a cold Wednesday evening in 1982. No, I won't go that far back. So I came to the Twin Cities, actually from Milwaukee. So I'm another Wisconsin immigrant, and there's a lot of us because it's better up here.
Is that finally someone admits it?
Someone admits it. No, I mean I still watch the Packers and I eat a lot of Swiss cheese, but it's all good things. So I came up here and I went to McAllister, and I kind of fell in love with the former mayor of St. Paul. His name was George Latimer. Okay. And so he taught my urban studies class and really got me into sort of urban geography, housing, urban economics, job creation, economic development, housing development, urban grocery stores to thriving, little immigrant malls from our Somali or Hmong communities. And I really kind of got hooked on that. And so I decided to pursue my master's at the U. And my master's was in housing, kind of urban regional planning with a focus on housing and economic development. And that's kind of what really sunk the hooks in me.
Really?
Yeah.
Housing? Nice.
Yep.
And then after that, real estate, you got your license and started selling?
So never licensed.
Nearly? Okay.
I am not. I've never been licensed to sell. I've only been licensed to analyze. Thank God. So, it all started in 2010, and I had been doing some work with an agency called CPED, the Community Planning and Economic Development Agency of the city of Minneapolis, and that was under the leadership of Mike Christensen, who's since moved on, and of course under Mayor R.T. Ryback. Then I literally totally cold applied for a job at 10K Research, and you remember those guys, and that was a subsidiary of my current employer, MAR, the Minneapolis Association of Realtors. So we've since divested ourselves of 10K Research. They're now owned by Showing Time, but we've hung on to some of the research, all the reports, and certainly, my hanging around, kind of testifies to our commitment to research, to data transparency, and to really educating not just our members and real estate professionals, but consumers so that they can kind of have the right expectations when it comes to making offers, accepting offers, listing homes, driving around on a Saturday to maybe lowball some sellers, is not going to be an effective strategy. So we have to kind of educate them, and it's been a good ride so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been exciting.
And so the site, and I use this, so just so you know, folks, Stephanie Havel, welcome again,
Good morning.
Stephanie. It's been a long time.
I know, I feel like it has been.
Welcome back. So Stephanie with Wells Fargo is here, and I'm sure you have some questions as well for David as well.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But the first site that I want to point you to, if you're listening out there and if you're in the market to buy or sell, and when you have real estate agents come out and you're interviewing an agent or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 7, like some of the folks out there I've been on have interviewed 7 for selling.
Wow.
That's a little overboard. I just will let you know that's a little much. But mplsrealtor.com website, mplsrealtor.com website, you don't have to have a password or a login. You can go in there and find statistics on cities, on townhomes versus condos and single family. There's just an ample, tons and tons and tons of information, and it's so helpful. We bring those reports to you when we go on appointments with you to show you what's going on if you're a buyer or a seller in the city that you're in or in the type of home that you're in and things like that. So, David, your team or you are helping with these things, correct? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. So we produce these reports working with North Star, the MLS, and our vendor to produce these reports regularly. So we have a weekly report that'll show seller activity, buyer activity, inventory levels, which is a real big metric nowadays because there's such a shortage, which I'm sure we'll get into. So that's our weekly. We have a monthly report. We have a foreclosure report, monthly indicators. We have a housing supply overview, which you were talking about. That'll kind of break down single-family, townhouse, condo. That'll break down previously owned existing homes versus new construction, new builds, which is a really important differentiator or distinguisher, if you will. And then, of course, we have an annual report that'll dive pretty deep into different cities, townships, like you were saying. And then we have our premier product, InfoSparks, which, of course, you know about. That's the one thing that's kind of members only. But if you're working with a realtor, they should have no issues, exporting a couple pages to give you a good sense of, what similar properties are trending at in terms of price, how many other sellers are there in your market, how many days on market might your home spend, will it linger for 100 days or will it go off the market in 4 or 8 hours or, a couple days we're even seeing. So, yeah, it really kind of depends. So a lot of different metrics kind of broken down by a lot of different breakouts or different variables. And then we kind of piece it all together with a narrative and some indicators that way.
And so if you love data and you love seeing trends and things like that and graphs and stats. So a lot of people, when you come out to an appointment and you go with a realtor, real estate's a little different. But when you go on this website, you'd think it could be the stock market because there's a lot of stats, data, lines, graphs, things like that. And you see all that. However, I will tell you, real estate houses, there's all the data, but then there's also a feel or a non kind of data. You can't quite quantify it or make data out of it of a house. So that's why they're a little different. But the data will definitely point you in the right direction and get you an idea of where things are going and where you should probably be or need to be on the sale of your home. And if you're looking to buy, what you can expect when you go in and try to write offers on these. What are those sellers getting from other people? What's the trend with all the neighbors that have sold or all the other people that have sold in the area in the last 6 months? And where's that going? And maybe that's why the seller didn't respond to you when you were $20,000 low on your initial offer, or maybe the seller was waiting because they knew that everyone in their neighborhood gets multiple offers, so they're waiting for multiple offers. So you can kind of get that data.
Well, and that's what I appreciate about that site is, the accuracy. And I know, David, it's good to see you again. I've heard your presentation numerous times, and I'm always, scratching out like pages and pages of data and so forth. And it's spot on. I think one of the things that kind of stuck out with me, and I guess it's more in the mortgage lending side, we talk about people refinancing or working with their existing clients, is one time you had talked about. And I was so surprised, but the average amount of time that a consumer lives in their home, and it's been spot on since, I don't know how long you've been tracking this stuff, for a long time. On average, I think, was it 7 years or something like that?
Yep.
The average, and it's not just, recently, but over time. And people are like, oh, no, not everybody moves that often.
Forever. I'm in my home forever. No.
Yeah, well, they do. I mean, that's what you think. People are like,
Some people are.
Well, but, I think when we talk about it from the financing perspective, a lot of people, ARMs got, a bad rap. Like, oh, my gosh, don't do an ARM. Well, you talk to a lot of economists, and talking about like a 7-1 arm, because the history shows most people will move every 5 to 8 years, and they have been for as long as, I don't know how long you guys have been tracking this. So don't be afraid of an arm. I think some people are afraid to, even if they talk to a loan officer, they just want the 30-year fix. Well, how long do people remember? We heard our friend Elliot Eisenberg,
Yes.
the economist, asked everybody in the
great.
room to raise your hand how long you've lived in a home for 30, or how many of you have lived in your home for 30 years? Or I forget how he phrased it. Anyways, like nobody's been there for 30 years. And most people have moved, more often than that. So it just kind of made me think about, really consider your financing options. And even an ARM is a good option, because as rates rise, ARM interest rates are a little bit lower and could give you a little bit more buying power. So if you're looking to move up into that, higher price range, you could look at the ARM financing. And data shows, David can tell us, that you probably will move every 5 to 8 years. So a 7-1 ARM is a fantastic product
I
to
just had
consider.
clients, well, I was the listing agent on it, and the buyer agent had the clients, and they were using Wells Fargo for their loan, a jumbo loan, and they did a 10-1 instead of a 7-1 because they were very similar in cost.
Right.
So they figured 10 years, they're either going to do something, either they'll move or they'll refinance, or they'll have some reason to do something on the property. So
Right.
that's a good point on that. So when we get back, I want to hear from David some of the hottest markets in the Twin Cities. Some of you have been, if you're in the market searching to buy a home or thinking of selling, you probably pay attention to maybe the Star Tribune, or you see articles that are published. And Richfield made the list as the hottest market in the Twin Cities recently in the Star Tribune for, I think they're basing it on time of sale or how quickly homes sell, or maybe supply of homes or things like that. But there's other markets that are out there. And then also, what are some opportunities for markets that aren't quite there yet? I want to hear David's opinion on that, where they are coming up, but they maybe haven't reached previous recession levels or pre-recession levels yet. They haven't bounced back all the way. And where are some opportunities maybe that you could try to find a home? Because if you're a buyer right now, or if you know a buyer that's looking, especially in the sub $300,000 price range in the Twin Cities, you're knowing how difficult it is and how much of a struggle it can be, and how much of an emotional torment you can go through on losing, and then multiple offers, then worrying if I overbid, and having that just a whole gamut of emotions go through when you're in this marketplace. And then you start questioning, should I even buy? Should I even buy right now?
Well, and I think, kind of we talk, and I think you mentioned, David, new construction. Yeah, I want to know how many new homes, if you'll put Blaine on your list over there. That's my hometown, and not that we need any more people with the soccer tournaments going on out there. My gosh, the traffic is crazy. But I want to know how many people are building houses on those sod farms.
So when we get back, David, we're going to let him talk about all the statistics and numbers of every city in the Twin Cities. Right, David? No, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. Everyone.
Stay tuned for the next 5 hours.
Stay tuned, folks.